Hey everyone, I wanted to make a video today talking about Halo Infinite and the next 10 years of Halo. This has been kind of a story that's been developing since Halo Infinite's release, or unveiling, I should say, a few weeks ago. And I wanted to really talk about what the future of Halo Infinite will look like and speculate what kind of content will come to this game after release. Of course, we don't know anything for sure at the time of recording this right now, and everything will be revealed probably soon, but it's still cool to envision what this game can turn into over the next 10 years. I'm taking a little bit of the content of this video based on a few articles I've read. I'll post them in the video description if you want to read them in full. But some of these gaming sites have done interviews with 343, and it's provided a lot of helpful information. I'm going to continue this discussion in our Discord server, so if you want to continue that, feel free to join. Link to it is in the video description. So it seems like the scope of Halo Infinite is to be a very large game, the largest Halo game ever released. And it looks to be a Halo game that's going to evolve over time and add new content, to where 343 says Halo Infinite will be the home of the franchise for the next 10 years. And that's a really bold statement, to be on one game and one engine and one platform for 10 years. But it may make a little bit of sense because of the way that Xbox has been approaching hardware recently. You know, you're going to see that the game will come out on the Xbox One, the Series X, and Steam/PC. And particularly with the Series X and PC, those platforms seem to be the foundation of what Xbox wants to target for a very long time. And we may see, a higher spec console later on down the line, like how we saw from Xbox One to Xbox One X. We may see Series X to, I don't know what they would call it, Series X2 or something. And that may help provide longevity to this game. But it says that we're not going to expect numbered sequels for a while, that Halo Infinite will be the home of the franchise for the next decade. That's one of the subheadlines from GameSpot. The studio head, Chris Lee of 343, was talking to IGN about how Halo Infinite will be the home of Halo for the next 10 years, and he has a pretty interesting quote I want to read off here. He says, "Halo Infinite is the start of our platform for the future. We want Infinite to grow over time versus going to those numbered titles and having all that segmentation that we had before. It's really about creating Halo Infinite as the start of the next 10 years of Halo, and then building on that as we go with our fans and the community." He goes on to say that Halo Infinite won't be a live service title and follow the formats of games like Destiny 2, and instead it's going to follow more of what they did with MCC, dropping everything under one name. And I think that part is pretty interesting to discuss. MCC, what confuses me is the Master Chief Collection itself is not a game. The Master Chief Collection is a collection of games. There is no single entity that makes up Master Chief Collection. It's reached through Halo 4. So if Halo Infinite is going to be following that, how are they going to add things on the scope of what they added to MCC into Infinite? And I think this is going to be kind of like large expansion packs. I think in gaming, the only thing I can think of in my mind is what the Elder Scrolls does with their expansion packs. They're very big. They have typically a higher cost than other DLCs, and they're very traditional. And that's actually my preference, to be honest. But I'm talking about things like the Dragonborn DLC in Skyrim, where it added a whole huge island with its own quest line and voice actors and cities and towns and locations. I mean, it was a big scope of a project. And so I think we would probably see something like that in Halo Infinite. Something that would maybe introduce a new storyline, something that may introduce new characters or continue the storyline of other characters. I'm not sure if it's confirmed or not if Master Chief is going to be the only playable character in Halo Infinite. And maybe that answer could change over time. Maybe for the main Halo Infinite storyline, maybe consider this to be the main quest if Halo Infinite's going to be this large. The main part of Halo Infinite, you'll play as the Master Chief, but maybe on some expansions you'll play as Jerome, or some expansions you'll play as Arby, or some you'll play as Spartan Locke. I think the scope of this could really change, and based on what the community wants, we'll see things being added that could be new and cool. And I think that's neat. I think that kind of gives everybody what they want, and everybody wins at the same time. And as long as these are pieces of story that's not critical to the overarching Halo timeline. For example, you don't need to play Halo Wars 1 to understand the Master Chief Saga. But they could do kind of those types of stories to where if someone wants to be involved with more lore and how this universe expands, they can play those expansions. But the hardcore fans, or the casual fans, I should say, that don't want to play those stories, don't need to. And I think that's kind of cool. I think that's interesting. That's not something we've seen before in a Halo game. I also wonder if it would be interesting for Halo Infinite to have expansions that focus on a particular enemy instead of focusing on a particular protagonist. We have a lot of enemies that we've seen over the years in Halo, and I think with Halo Infinite there's a lot of outstanding ones. We still have the Prometheans and the Covenant that do not accept the Covenant UNSC truce. We also have the Banished, of course. And we also have the Guardians and Cortana, and potentially even the Flood, since we're back on a Halo ring. So I think having some sort of expansion that, where you deal with only one particular enemy is kind of cool. And maybe we'll see that in Halo Infinite as an expansion as the years go on. I also wonder how they're going to monetize all of this content, and I think that's going to be important for a lot of the consumers of Halo Infinite. In one mind, if they're going to charge $60 for Halo Infinite and it's going to include both the campaign and the free-to-play multiplayer, you're really only paying the $60 just for the campaign experience. So you need to justify that price with a lot of content. And so I'm not sure if future content for Halo Infinite is going to be free, or if they're going to charge it and be similar to traditional DLC expansion packs. I could really see it going both ways, but from the track record of Microsoft in the past, with what they've done in expanding the content of, say, Halo 5, all of that stuff has been free. So we could potentially see this stuff coming for free. I would say that's more likely than having priced expansion packs. They may end up doing both. They may have, some medium-sized expansion packs for Halo Infinite, and then they'll have some huge thing every, let's say, 2 years or 3 years that you'll need to pay for. This is kind of similar to what we saw in Awakening of the Nightmare. That was a pretty large expansion pack for Halo Wars 2, and even if you had the Season Pass, you were still required to buy it, and I know that turned off a lot of people from having to buy both the Season Pass and an expansion pack, but you did get a lot for your money with that $20 for that expansion. So, to wrap things up, if you were to ask me, what is the next 10 years of Halo gonna look like? I can at least point you to know that it's all gonna be contained within Halo Infinite, with the multiplayer going free to play, and this one game gonna be a platform for the next 10 years. I really do think that we're gonna see a successful return to the Halo series with Halo Infinite. To be honest, we don't know what kind of content's coming to the game right now. We don't know what the expansions are going to look like. Right now, we don't even know what the main quest or the original story for Halo Infinite is going to be at the time of recording this. All I know is I'm pretty confident and pretty hopeful that this is going to be a really good ride for Halo, and I think this is going to make Halo really have a return to form where a lot of people are going to be checking out Halo, not only for the first time for new fans, but for old fans to be reintroduced to this series that we all know and love. And I think that's going to be really important moving forward, and I think these expansions are going to mean a lot to longtime fans and to new players. And I think 343 understands that now, and I really am hopeful that we're going to see some great expansions in the future. Whatever those expansions will be, I'm going to be covering them on the channel for Halo Infinite, so be sure to be subscribed to stay informed with all future Halo Infinite content. I also hope you check out our Discord server because we have a ton of people in there, coming up on 2,000 members who love to chat about Halo, and that discussion will be happening in there all the time. Until then, thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you, James.